Hi everybody, this is Sarah at Health by Sarah. Today I want to talk to you about what my birth plan is going to be, and more specifically for a birth center, because that's where I am planning on giving birth. And as of the recording of this video, it's a few weeks before I am due. So let's get started. I just had my 36-week appointment last week, and the midwives were asking me, what is your birth plan, or do you have a birth plan ready? And I said, well, I have a birth plan that I used for my first birth, and I told them, a lot of those things on that list is probably pretty standard of practice for you guys anyway. And they said, well, we kind of want to know like what kind of lighting you want, if you want music, if you're okay with people talking, if you want us in there all the time, that kind of thing. And it was really refreshing and nice to hear that, because that's honestly a completely different experience, completely different environment that I had my first time around in the hospital. It was like a constant battle in the hospital with me, and I felt completely stressed out, and that's not something you want to feel during labor. It actually can hinder the labor process if you're stressed out. So I'm really happy to hear those are the kind of things that they want to know what I want out of my birth plan, and they want to tailor the best experience for me. So that's really awesome. And you can still try to advocate for that and work for that, even if you do have a hospital birth. A lot of people recommend that you get a doula to be your advocate, and they're going to do the battles for you. So if you can afford to have a doula, I would recommend it as well. So first of all, I have on my list that I want the lighting to be low or dim. It's just a more relaxing environment that way. Also, I want the chatter to really be to a minimum, because that didn't really happen, at least for part of my birth the last time, and that was really irritating to me, especially when I was going through some hard contractions. So that's something that's important to me. Now, maybe other people might actually like that, but I do have exceptions to that rule. If they're giving me words of affirmation, encouragement, like, you can do this, you're doing great, you're a great mom, or they're reminding me, if they hear me screaming and not breathing the right way, it's recommended that you do low moaning, like deep in your diaphragm, because that just helps you deal with the pain a lot better. It actually makes the pain worse when you scream at the top of your lungs, which I didn't know, and I was doing that for my first birth. So I'm glad to know that that can help, and I actually experienced it helping, but it was kind of too late because I had hit a wall already. So this time around, I'm going to try to remember that, but again, if I don't remember it, I want people to remind me to do that kind of breathing. So those are the exceptions that I will make for people talking or doing too much chatter, is if they're giving me words of encouragement. Also, they do have a diffuser and essential oils at the birth center, but I'll probably just bring a few of my own. Like, I'll probably bring lavender, frankincense, and bergamot, because those are relaxing and good smelling oils. I don't know too much about essential oils, but to me, I just want to be as relaxed as possible and as comfortable as possible. So those are some of my favorite scents. Also, I would like to have music playing. Now, I could completely change my mind in the middle of labor, and I really honestly have no idea what kind of playlist I'm gonna want, but I think maybe at least for part of it, I'd want some relaxing, soothing music, but I'm sure we'll have many different choices to pick from. Also, I said that I want them to massage me if needed. One thing that really helped with my daughter's labor, I was having really terrible back pain, low back pain. That's really where all of my pain was concentrated. And I had this one nurse that was excellent at just massaging my lower back as hard as she could. And I just wanted it to be as tough as possible because that gave me the most relief. So if I need that or in another place, then I'm okay with that, and that's what I would prefer. Also, I said if I am actually doing well, I don't want to be checked as frequently, and that's actually what they end up doing there anyway. They say if you don't need our help, we actually like to leave you alone, so you can just progress as needed. And there's evidence to show that when it's just you and your husband or your birth partner, it actually helps to speed labor along because you're more relaxed and you feel safer. Also, I would like them to use the word rushes for contractions, instead of using the word contractions, because I've been reading Ina May Gaskin's books on childbirth, and one of the stories, one of the birth stories in there, this woman said that she was an English teacher, or she had a background in English, and she knew how important that language was. And so she thought that it was a bad idea to use the word contraction when it refers to something constricting, and it just makes you tense up thinking of the word. So she changed her preference to using the word rushes, and they actually ended up changing that word at the farm, as they call it, where Ina May Gaskin, she's a famous midwife in Tennessee. They changed it at the birth center there because they knew that it was helping their clients. So I want to see if that helps me as well. I want free movement, and I know that they already give that to you at the birth center, but I just want to include that for those of you who might have a hospital birth. Also, they allow eating and drinking during labor. Typically, if you're under a midwife's care, they will allow you to do that even in the hospital. I found this out because I was considering delivering at the same hospital but under midwife's care, and they said it's very different with midwives than under a doctor's care. With labor and delivery, we allow you to eat and drink during labor. So it might depend on the hospital or the midwife, but I think a lot of midwives prefer that you eat and drink so you can have that energy to continue through, especially if you have a long labor. I would like to have a water birth. My husband and I are about to take a water birth class, and I'm hoping for that. But again, a lot of women can change their minds, or things can happen differently than you planned during labor. So I'm not going to have my heart set on it necessarily, but I do think that it will help me a lot. And I do have some experience with that. I labored in the tub and the shower with my daughter, but I kept on getting in and out. So this time, I think I'll have more of that support with the midwives of when the appropriate time is to get in and just kind of hang out in there. Also, if I am having trouble to progress, I'm just requesting that they help me in whatever positions that I might need, or just changing something up, or just maybe just giving me more encouragement during that time. I prefer not to have cervical checks unless they're needed, and again, this is kind of their standard of practice anyway, so but at the hospital it might be different. So it's important to put that in your birth plan if you don't want that. Especially because every time you do a cervical check, it can actually introduce bacteria into your vagina, and it can make you more prone to having an infection. So it's just a good idea not to check so frequently. And anyway, it can kind of be discouraging to have those checks if you're not far enough along. I know it was for me, so that's something I definitely don't want this time. I also don't want any medications during labor, and that's mostly their standard anyway, so it wasn't necessarily necessary for me to say that, but I wanted it on there just in case. I want my waters to rupture naturally. They actually did with my daughter. But again, I don't know what's going to happen this time. So I don't want to really mess with that natural process. I also don't want my membrane swept. I want, after the baby's born, I want delayed cord clamping. We did it last time until the cord stopped pulsating, but I actually heard that it might be good to wait until the cord turns white, because then all the blood has transferred from the placenta to the baby. I also want my husband to be the one to cut the cord. No bath for the baby, because I might do a whole nother video on that by itself, but you want to keep the vernix. It's a protective layer over their skin. You want to just rub it in, and you don't want to wash that off, because it's actually really good for their skin. I've even heard of there being skincare lines out there from the vernix from babies. It's that critical. I want immediate skin to skin, breastfeeding as soon as possible. Those are pretty standard in a birth center, but they may not be in a hospital. No pacifiers, because that can interfere with breastfeeding. I don't want the vitamin K shot, no hepatitis B shot either, no antibiotic ointment or drops, and I also want delayed exams for bonding, and no mama or baby separation during that time. So that's essentially what my birth plan is. Again, some of these things are pretty standard for a birth center, but I also want to include it for people who are giving birth in a hospital to know what to look out for. One thing I didn't mention was circumcision. That can be a pretty controversial subject out there, and I'm actually not sure which way we will go if we have a boy. We're actually not sure. We're keeping it a surprise even to ourselves. So hopefully we can make the right decision, whatever that ends up being at the end. So I hope you guys have found this video to be helpful, and just let me know in the comments what your experiences have been. If you have any questions, I would love to hear from you. And please like this video and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, bye.